Well, welcome to the Sportcology Institute training series that we've been doing last week and we will continue this week. And what are you doing when you watch the Olympic Games? What do you watch for? Today in this series, we continue on looking at the Olympic Games, and I want us to focus on what we have learned so far. To become an Olympian, someone that can compete in the Games requires hours and hours and years of competing at all levels, discovering what you do under, with, and because of pressure. The first week is complete, and as we begin the second week, let's review what we have been learning from watching the Games. In the first podcast in this series, we mentioned that this Olympic Games, because of what has happened in the last 18 months, could reveal more surprises than any other Games. Athletes choosing not to compete, athletes surprised at their medal-winning performances, and unexpected outcomes from former champions that can't seem to do it anymore, and how it affects them and us. I'm Jungle Jim Hunter, and you're listening to 831 Living Your Best Life podcast, where we inspire participation, communicate precision, and empower performers to podium. And we want you to tell your friends, those you work with, and those you care about that are interested in living their best life to go to their favorite podcast provider or go to junglejimhunter.com or YouTube and subscribe, download. Click on like, rate, and review us, and become an 831er, somebody that is a first responder to help others live their best life because we've inspired you to live your best life. It's day 11 of the 32nd Olympic Games in Tokyo and 21 days to the 16th Paralympic Games. And again, I want you to be inspired to watch and support your teams and the people that you care about and the sport you're interested in. In the preparation for an Olympic Games, athletes have been under pressure to make the team, and this reveals to all concerned who is ready for the pressure ahead and who is not. If your flame is ignited, or if you have seen your child get excited about a sport and an event, the journey has begun. But in the beginning, we are not under pressure, but as these games have progressed, we see athletes deciding not to compete and feeling like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. The last 2 years of non-major competition in their preparation have been unlike any other games because we have not had the chance to observe the athletes under pressure and what the coaches will do at higher and higher levels of performance. These are needed for athletes to be placed under to see how they handle pressure. Few had minor events, some had semi-major events, and maybe an occasional major event to test and prove they are ready to perform, but not the pressure of the games. Pressure doesn't make you a champion, it reveals what kind of a champion you are. And so it is not surprising that we see many athletes bursting into tears and showing more emotion than usual because it may be tears of victory, but it can be of relief that it's finally over. These games also reveal what athletes are doing under pressure and with the pressure. This first week, I asked you to watch and notice what emotions are being expressed, what the athletes said before, during, and after their event, and how they reacted within the event. I have seen athletes that looked like a deer in headlights, overwhelmed by the pressure to perform and couldn't, while realizing this is a much bigger stage than they have ever performed on. With the pandemic, many of these athletes did not have the chance to build up to being able to know how to deal with the emotional impact of the pressure to perform. We start an entry-level sport and it's fun. Isn't that, after all, what we say? It's gotta be fun. Well, as we climb to tougher arenas of competition, it is great to see who rises to the occasion and how they can manage their emotions and maintain focus on performing, and in the end, it is fun. You see, there's a difference. It isn't just fun in games. It's knowing how to perform, and that is fun. Pressure pushes you around, and a small leak in a hose, once it hits the highest pressure, well, it can cause an athlete to start to reevaluate, ruining their confidence. This second week, watch for what athletes do with pressure. There is training pressure, wondering if you can do what the coaches the sport demands. As an athlete progresses, there are new pressures that you never had before. A local tournament in the off-season is not as pressure-packed as one in the middle of the season or at the end of a season for a championship. However, add new elements of expectations, media, country, community, all of the details of your life being exposed on television, and you get bombarded with an increase on a daily basis. And that increased demands can overwhelm and affect performance, in some cases causing them to withdraw. Expectations without proper coaching can take the fun out of what you love doing. When it comes from sources beyond your control, it is why these last 2 years are revealing performances that once seemed so easy to become less than championship level. A major final, the pre-Olympic events the year before, and a world championship, all leading up to the games, increase the pressure, and because athletes need this to work through and adjust to its effects in their performance, we are not seeing it in the games. We are seeing new athletes win surprised. How can you grow from this information and from watching the second half of the games? When you see yourself react to pressure, where is it coming from? Is it the pressure of expectation you place yourself and your athletes under? If so, help yourself and help them talk it out and have a realistic perspective on what is fact and what is fiction in your emotions. Saying you can do this may not help you if the person saying it is believing something else inside about themselves. Or if they're having trouble with pressure that is coming from an outside force, like a coworker, a teammate, a coach, or the media, or somebody else, or someone that normally has no play in the performance but now is needed because of added involvement, help them place the focus in the right direction, relieving the pressure. And finally, are you or are they feeling it because of new external pressure, something you've never dealt with before? Is it expectation pressure? Anticipate and prepare them to handle those. A struggling team member can say something that bothers them, and your athlete hears it for the first time, and it upsets them instead of the person that said it. This Olympic Games is almost completely unprecedented because we have never gone through what the last 2 years brought to bear on the development of athletes. Some prepared alone in a vacuum, sometimes with totally new methods online. This second week, you should watch even more for the words said, emotions expressed, and now I'm going to add new pressure. Yes, I'm going to add new pressure for you to watch for. I'm going to ask you to watch body language and facial expressions and the reactions within the performance. You will become a stronger person if you can recognize these, because you can only recognize the things that bother you. Yes, the things that bother you is what you will react to. You can learn more and have a greater chance to grow with these games than any games prior to this one, because you're going to see more emotional, unbalanced athletes than you've ever seen before. I am often asked what I thought of my performances in the 2 Olympic Games I competed in. I know my results, and that I improved in my performance despite being injured in the second one and couldn't handle the pressure of the second games because of that injury. But I did much better than I did in the first games. I know what I wrote in my journals and what I went through and reacted to, and I could have used a lot of help. What's interesting is that it led me to realizing that I've never seen my performances at the games. That's right, I don't know what I did in 1972 and 1976. I've seen parts of it, but never seen my runs. We didn't have VCRs or PVRs when I competed, and unfortunately, an athlete doesn't get a copy of their performance after the games are over when they are finished competing, something that I've always said the IOC should do for their Olympic athletes. If there are moments or a sport that inspire your athletes, save them on your PVR so they can go back and learn what kinds of pressure they felt and where it came from in them. Was it the pressure they felt they would be under or have to deal with or because of from external expectations? Thank you for listening. I hope you will have grown and will be living your best life the next time we meet. My quote for the day: pressure doesn't make you a champion. It reveals what kind of a champion you are.